Welcome to this information session hosted by the Cultural Protection Fund. We are delighted to launch this new funding round and to have you join us today. I'm Daniel Head, Senior Grants Manager. The purpose of this online session is to provide a general overview of the Cultural Protection Fund, including where we work and what we mean by cultural protection. We will also cover the eligibility criteria and application process for this funding round, and will provide information on the next steps for those interested in applying. The Cultural Protection Fund, CPF, is led by the British Council in partnership with the UK Government's Department for Culture, Media and Sport. Established in 2016, the fund was created to protect cultural heritage at risk in conflict-affected countries across the Middle East and North Africa. In 2019, the fund expanded its focus to address the impact of climate change on cultural heritage in East Africa, and has more recently supported pilot initiatives in South Asia. The CPF is funded through the UK Government's Official Development Assistance, or ODA, budget. As a result, the majority of project benefits must support communities in ODA-eligible countries, and the countries shown on screen are those eligible under this open call. The fund works closely with partners and colleagues across a broad global network, and central to our approach is ensuring that the people and communities most closely connected to cultural heritage are at the heart of its protection and preservation. Our work in cultural heritage protection is centred around four key areas: open funding calls, capacity building activities, research and evaluation, and emergency funds. Together, these areas enable us to create opportunities, strengthen skills, generate evidence to support informed decision-making, share key findings within the sector, and respond rapidly to urgent needs as they arise. In 2026, the British Council and DCMS partnership was awarded £8.9 million to further its cultural heritage protection work for 3 more years until March 2029. The majority of this funding will be allocated to cultural heritage protection projects awarded through open calls. Cultural heritage is everything that we inherit from past generations and want to pass on to future generations. That determines our traditions, rituals, and values, and forms our sense of place and identity. For example, archaeological sites and monuments, collections of objects, books, or documents in museums, libraries, or archives, historic buildings, cultural traditions such as stories, festivals, crafts, music, dance, and costumes. Other expressions of living heritage relate to specific sites, places, or landscapes, histories of people, communities, places, and events, the heritage of language and dialects, people's memories and experiences, often recorded as oral history. Projects which aim to protect other assets that do not fall under the CPF definition of cultural heritage will not be eligible in this funding round. For example, infrastructure such as roads, schools, or hospitals, natural heritage such as landscapes, forests, or beaches, contemporary cultural practices such as new theatre, dance, or music. The Cultural Protection Fund has 3 interconnected strategic objectives: heritage, society, and economy. First, heritage. We want cultural heritage to be in better condition, better understood, and better prepared for the future. Second, society. We aim to help create stronger, more inclusive, and more resilient communities. Third, economy. We seek to increase opportunities and benefits for people and places. Together, these objectives recognise that heritage is not only about preserving the past, it is also about creating positive social and economic outcomes for people and places now and in the future. These strategic objectives will align with the 3 outcomes that a CPF project is expected to achieve. We will explore these outcomes in more detail later in this presentation, including how projects can demonstrate their contribution to each area. Globally, cultural heritage is at risk, and the Cultural Protection Fund considers the most urgent threats to be those arising from conflict and climate change. This funding round will prioritise support to projects that address risks in these areas. We will ask about the risks to the cultural heritage in both stages of the application process, and what the proposed activities will do to protect the heritage against these risks. Our assessment will be based on the probability, severity, and urgency of the main risks facing the heritage, and we will also consider any additional risks that are identified as part of your response. Before we move on to the fund's wider eligibility criteria, here's some additional information on what we mean by the most urgent threats to heritage. Cultural heritage is increasingly deliberately targeted during conflict, including through destruction of sacred places, by removing people's rights to their identity and traditions, and through attempted suppression or erasure of narratives. Heritage at risk due to conflict can be interpreted fairly broadly, in that it relates to past, current, and potential future conflict and the instability associated with it. For example, a building that has gone into disrepair since conflict has happened or will not survive if conflict continues. Traditional skills that are depleting due to conflict and the consequences of conflict, such as political or economic instability or displacement of communities. Intangible heritage, which has been suppressed during past conflicts or needs documenting in case future conflict occurs. Our definition of the effects of climate change includes events caused by the changes to the Earth's climate, such as heat-related damage, wind erosion, earthquakes, rising sea levels and floods, but it does not include regularly occurring weather, such as heavy seasonal rainfall, unless this has been exacerbated by climate change. This could include the destruction or severe degradation of buildings and sites caused by extreme weather and geological events, temperature spikes that threaten collections, such as ancient objects and records, a scarcity of resources that forcibly displaces communities and restricts them from passing on skills, traditions, recipes, and languages to the next generation. In these next two slides, we will cover the fund's eligibility criteria, including what you can apply for and who can apply. This funding round will support projects which will protect cultural heritage at risk, taking place in one or more of the fund's target countries. All projects must include protection of living heritage and be able to demonstrate evidence of local demand and support for the proposed activities. We can accept applications for grants of up to £500,000 for projects that will start in December 2026 and will finish no later than January 2029. There is no minimum grant request amount, although applications for grants under £30,000 will likely be considered less competitive than others, as it is unlikely that projects under this grant value will be able to achieve a significant level of positive impact. Based on our 3-year funding profile, we expect to make approximately 7 awards to projects for grants between £100,000 and £500,000 and 20 awards to projects under £100,000. We assess each application on its own merit, but ask that you closely consider the amount of funding that your project requires, due to the number of awards that we can make at each funding level in this round. The fund is open to applications from legally registered organisations anywhere in the world, but if the lead organisation is not based in the country where the project activities are taking place, they must have at least one partner organisation that is registered and based in the target country. Even if the lead organisation is based in the target country, we encourage partnerships where appropriate, because the experience and expertise of more than one organisation can strengthen a project. We cannot accept applications from sole traders or any other individual applicants, and private organisations will not be permitted to make a profit from a Cultural Protection Fund project. Applications must be submitted by one lead applicant organisation, and if a grant is awarded, the lead organisation will have overall legal and financial responsibility for managing the grant. They will be required to accept the terms and conditions of our grant agreement, have a functional bank account that can receive international funds when the project starts, and produce regular monitoring reports for the duration of the project, including a final evaluation. Please consider the responsibilities the lead grantee and partner organisations will have when preparing your submission. There will be a 2-stage online application process, and to apply for a grant, you must first submit an expression of interest form, which is light to touch and will enable us to assess how competitive your proposal is and if it is eligible to submit a full application. Expressions of interest will be assessed based on your answers to questions that tell us about your organisation's relevant experience, the specific heritage that your project will focus on, how it is at risk, and what activities your project will do to protect it. An indicative budget will also be required to give us an understanding of the grant request for your project. You will also be asked how your project is supported by local communities, how you will improve access and participation to heritage through consideration of equality, diversity and inclusion, and the likely impact of project activities in relation to the Cultural Protection Fund's outcome areas, which we will move on to shortly. We can accept one expression of interest per organisation, and the CPF team will provide feedback on your expression of interest, whether successful or unsuccessful, but you will be unable to resubmit. If your expression of interest is accepted, we will provide a link to the full application form, which consists of 8 sections that build and expand on information included in your expression of interest, in addition to the sustainability of activities and impact after the project ends. You will be required to provide detailed answers and additional documents such as a budget, draft partnership agreements, and letters of support. Please read the application guidance before you begin your application. The Help Notes section is intended to assist you in answering all questions that will be asked, and also covers what additional documents we will require at that stage. All applications will be assessed by the CPF team, with expert input from external specialist assessors and British Council country team colleagues where the projects will take place. An approvals panel will use their judgment to choose which applications to support, and you can read more about the assessment process and how decisions will be made in our application guidance. Expressions of interest and applications must be submitted via our Good Grants portal, which you can access via the Apply for Funding page on the CPF website. You will need to create an account or log into an existing account to apply, and we recommend using an up-to-date browser. You should also consider keeping an offline copy of your application as a backup. Expressions of interest and applications must be submitted by one lead applicant organisation, but you can invite other members of your team or partner organisations to collaborate at any point during your submission. Further guidance on using the Good Grants platform, including how to create an account and how to work on a collaborative submission, are available on the CPF website and within the application guidance. The deadline for expressions of interest will be Monday, the 20th of July, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. UK time. If successful, those invited will have up to 5 weeks to submit a full application, including additional supporting documents. The deadline for full applications will be Friday, the 20th of August at 11:59 UK time. Once you submit, you will receive an automatic email letting you know that we have received your proposal. Please contact us if you do not receive confirmation. We will then contact you again about your submission once it has been assessed by a member of the CPF team. The assessment process and the decisions panel will take place between September to October 2026, and we expect to inform applicants of decisions by the beginning of November 2026. As mentioned earlier, projects can start from December 2026 and must end no later than January 2029. By outcomes, we mean the changes, impacts, benefits, or any improvements that happen as a result of the project. The Cultural Protection Fund has a set of predetermined outcomes designed to measure how project activities have improved the safeguarding of cultural heritage. Our outcomes are split across 3 areas: heritage, society, and economy. Projects that meet all outcomes will be more competitive, and applications will be assessed on how strongly they meet the outcomes, not on the number of activities. We'll now go through each of these areas and examples of some activities that can achieve these outcomes. Please refer to the guidance for a more comprehensive list. Heritage is the first outcome. Cultural heritage will be in better condition, more prepared, and better understood. Projects may ensure that cultural heritage will be in better condition through conservation, repair, or restoration activities. They may also help heritage become more prepared through risk assessments, management plans, and preparedness measures, and better understood through documentation, public awareness activities, and consultation. Society is the second outcome. Societies will be stronger, more inclusive, and more resilient. Projects may help societies become stronger through training and participation activities that encourage communities to work together more cohesively. They may also help societies become more inclusive by engaging new and underrepresented audiences with cultural heritage and reducing or removing barriers to participation. They may help societies become more resilient through training, skills development, and volunteer opportunities. As we are committed to improving access to engagement with and participation in heritage through all our projects, those that have plans to implement meaningful ways of reducing or removing barriers to participation will be more competitive than those that do not. Economy is the third outcome: increased opportunities and benefit for people and places. Projects may create increased opportunities through new areas of economic activity related to cultural heritage, such as tourism opportunities or local community enterprises. They may provide benefits for people through job opportunities focusing on cultural heritage. Projects may also provide benefits for places through improvements to heritage sites and historic buildings, and by creating new opportunities for people to visit, use, and enjoy them. Our website has a dedicated page for the 2026 funding round, where you can find all the links mentioned during this session, including the Good Grants platform and the application guidance. You can also discover more information on projects previously supported by the Cultural Protection Fund and sign up to our newsletter to get access to the latest news, opportunities, and updates. In addition to our own materials, we would also recommend the recently published Supporting Heritage at Risk manual developed by the Cultural Emergency Response and the Smithsonian Institute. This is a practical guide to proposal writing and fundraising for heritage professionals working in crisis contexts, which covers key areas of application writing and targeted exercises that may be useful alongside the Cultural Protection Fund's specific guidance. The manual is available to download from the Cultural Emergency Response website. Thank you for joining us for this information session, which we hope has provided a useful overview of the Cultural Protection Fund, its strategic objectives, and the application process for this open call. If you decide to apply, we look forward to receiving your expression of interest and wish you the best of luck. If you have any questions about the fund or the application process, you can contact the team by email at the address on the screen. Please note, however, that while the team can provide clarification on the guidance and application requirements, we cannot provide feedback on, review, or advise on individual applications.
Thank you, and good luck with your application.